They called him the Diesel.
Crank up that diesel. Let's go.
He leaned across the table and he goes, "You need to get me back there. I'll make you famous."
And to Riggins, good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone.
It's Riggo the Diesel.
Well, hello and welcome to Riggo the Diesel. I am Riggo the Diesel. I'm John Riggins, and I have Larry Michael with me, the voice of the Washington Redskins. Larry, good to see you today.
John, how you doing, man?
I am doing well, actually. I'm surprised. I'm actually quite awake at this hour of the morning. Maybe it's because I took a nap already this morning.
Yeah.
And it's like noon or whatever.
You ever done that? Get up, then about an hour later, figure, I got to go take a nap?
Well, you see, I'm at home by myself now. I've got my daughter's home from college. She graduated, so she's there, but she's got a job. Okay. And my wife just started as the executive vice president of USO, so she's got a job. And my youngest daughter, I take her to school in the morning. I come home, and there's nobody there but me. And after a while, I had a little tea, and I said, you know what? Just like Goldilocks, I'm going to go upstairs and take a nap. Now, I didn't lay in 3 beds. I figured out where I wanted to go out of the blocks, but yeah, so I'm feeling pretty good. And, we got, the game obviously on Sunday with the Eagles. And as disappointed, I'm sure, as a lot of people are, there was still some good in that game. But there also was some bad, and there was some ugly.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know, which do you want to go after first, Larry? You want to go after the good? You want to save the good to last? It's like good news, bad news? Which way you do?
You know what? If I had done, if I'd put 2 and 2 together, in fact, on the soundboard that Stevie brings in to play the music and everything, literally the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly's theme song from the old Clint Eastwood Western is on that board.
It is.
It is. And you know what? I'm going to go over there and look for it real quick.
Oh, please
is that okay
do.
with you?
Yeah. There it is. I'm playing air guitar. I'm playing air harmonica. I remember my brother driving back from selling my grandmother's stuff after her death at funeral.
I told you I had that.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
Perfect.
it took me a while to figure it out. But
Very good.
How about that?
Oh, yeah, the guitar
Great.
part.
Spaghetti Westerns.
That was it. He did about, 4 of them? 3 of them? 4
Yeah,
of them?
and of course we know why they were called Spaghetti Westerns.
They were filmed in Italy?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I was there this summer. I don't remember. They should have said, hey, this is where they did the movie, but I didn't see it.
All right, I guess we can start the podcast.
All right, let's start with the good. I already kind of went through it a little bit, but the good was clearly the offense, and they, which was, I got to tell you, Larry, I was surprised. I was shocked. I think a lot of people were. I know the Philadelphia Eagles were. They couldn't believe that this offense put 20 points on them before the first half was over with, and I was along with them. I was pretty based on what I saw in the preseason, because it was a hodgepodge. You never really saw, a moment where, as Joe Bugle used to say, and I've said it on this show before, where everybody got a good fit. And you saw a drive where everything just fell into place. There were no penalties, and you had a nice, clean game. Or,
First possession was good.
What's that?
The first possession was a good fit.
It was excellent. That was, what was it, 7-8 play drive?
Yeah.
70 yards, great play at the end of it by Vernon Davis.
Yeah.
Doing something a little bit extra there. But, yeah, so you see where there's potential there. And they did the passing game was actually working in the first half. Now, that to me, and you saw what was Terry McLaurin, that here you see, and that was the big, to me, the biggest question mark in the preseason was wide receiver. What are you going to do? Well, I think that question was answered in a way that it's only going to get better. For the first time in quite some time, I would say, you really may have a guy, and this is after, I don't want to bust on Josh Dotson too much, but at the same time, he was brought in here, 3 years ago to be that long-distance guy. Well, he's no longer here, but guess what? I think you got one now. You got a big play guy. Hadn't really had one since the guy that torched the team on Sunday. Jackson was here, really.
That's true, and not only can he go deep, but he made some really nice catches underneath the catch on the sideline where he got his feet in bounds while he was getting hit. This guy is a smart, athletic, he is a complete player. So that's good news. I thought Case Keenum, not having seen a lot of him, was good news. I thought that the offensive game plan in the first half was good news. I think you saw maybe a different take in it. It was kind of weird, John, at halftime of that game, kind of talking to Cooley and the guys and the guys in the press box, saw a couple guys and said, hey, you know what? Now I get it. Now I understand why maybe Geis was going to be the starter here because they were going to throw the ball a lot more than they were going to run it. Because that defense, the 4-3 that they have, and they bring their safety up, and everything gets pinched in, they're really hard to run against that team. So maybe that was why. Of course, I'm talking about something else. That was why. Peterson.
Right, we'll get to that.
Not being in there.
That's the ugly.
But, I was surprised. And you know what? If they can duplicate those type of numbers and that type of execution offensively against the Cowboys, they've got a good shot. But you got to do it for two halves.
That's
Can't
true.
do it just for half.
Well, and as a rule, sometimes you can kind of look through some of the things that the coaches are saying and you go, well, I don't know about that. But I have a tendency to agree with what Gruden said about the fact they never had the ball in the second half. I mean, there is some truth to that. Now, yeah, you went out there and you had some 3-and-outs, but that happens. But then your defense has got to go back out, and this is where I think the disappointment comes in, and this is where the bad is that I really thought that this defense was going to be, and it still could be, don't get me wrong, but let's just say that I think they fooled everybody on Sunday because that wasn't the defense. Well, once again, it was the same thing. They had a pretty decent first half.
Yes, indeed.
And all of a sudden, things blew up in the second half.
One play in the first half, the long pass to Jackson, which was a momentum changer, but the Redskins got a field goal before the end of the half, so I thought they got some of that momentum back. But then, yeah, I mean, your defense was on the field way too long. You couldn't get off the field. You had a 7-minute, 10-second drive to open the second half for Philly. They scored. In the fourth quarter, they had the ball 13 minutes and 37 seconds out of 15. Now, I went to Maryland years ago, but I do know that leaves you a minute 23. Right, Todd? Yeah, that's correct. That's right. And 3-and-outs, Jay said it right on the mark. I mean, you need to get you need to answer the score. You did it at the end of the first half with the score.
That's right.
But you answered their opening drive with a 3-and-out. Then they had another drive. Then you went 3-and-out. And the Redskins only had about 10 plays until they got the ball back in the fourth quarter. That's a drive. 10 plays is a drive sometimes. So
well, exactly.
Yeah. So
it should be.
It became apparent that Philly took control of the game in the second half, and they didn't let it go. And so you got to fix that. And obviously there are subplots now because of what is apparently an injury to Geis. The team will obviously practice on Wednesday, and we'll get a better feel for his status and John Allen's status. We just don't know right now.
Yeah, but the rumors are that with Geis anyway, it's a meniscus. And I thought meniscus was cartilage, which to me would be, I don't know how you have, because I've had it, and it wasn't when I was playing football. I did have one where I chipped some cartilage out from underneath my kneecap. Well, the knee would lock. You'd be walking along, and all of a sudden, you couldn't. And so right. I'm wondering, I don't see how you actually finish the game if that's the case. So I'm thinking it must be something a little bit more minor than that.
I haven't heard, but again, coming off of the rehab that he had gone through, I think you got to err on the side of caution. This kid's got a lot of potential, and if he tweaked his knee, you got to get him healthy. And you got a Hall of Famer sitting there who could step right in. And I don't think anybody could have handled anything any better than Peterson has over the last week or so, maybe even more. As soon as some of this news started to break that he would not be playing, I mean, he's really handled it well. I mean, I've talked to the guy a couple times, and so we'll see. I mean, Sunday, Dallas, tough defense again, different type of defense. They're going to put more pressure on the quarterback than Philadelphia did. So maybe this is a game where you might be able to give the ball to the running back 15, 20 times. But they don't do it like
not
you used
55.
to, John. They don't. No, not 55 times out of the I formation. But what was your most carry? You had a 40 carry game,
Never
I think.
Did.
No?
Most carries I ever had was in the Super Bowl.
Who I'm thinking of? Jamie Morris
38.
might have the all-time Redskin record for carries.
Yeah, you know what? I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think there was.
Yeah, it was a year there at Jamie Morris. But you had 38.
38 in Super Bowl.
When's the last time you saw somebody carry it 30 times in the NFL? It happens, but it doesn't happen that often.
It's rare.
So, anyway, should we do some business here?
Good. Go ahead.
Okay.
You're up first.
Hi, it's Larry Michael. One of my favorite things to do is play games from the Virginia Lottery, and they just introduced a new game. It's called Print and Play Rolling Jackpot. It's Virginia only, instant win game, and it has a starting jackpot of $50,000. The jackpot increases with each ticket sold until the jackpot is won. There are no play slips to fill out, no waiting for a drawing, just purchase, play, and check to see if you've won. It's that easy. $2 ticket can win 20% of the jackpot. $5 ticket can win 50% of the jackpot. And a $10 ticket can win 100% of the jackpot. For each price point, the odds of winning the top prize are 1 in 240,000. Look for it today at your favorite Virginia lottery retailer.
All right, now, for some time, you've heard me talk about O'Connor Plumbing, and I wouldn't bring O'Connor Plumbing up if I didn't really believe in what they do. They are, without a doubt, I think, the plumbing company in this area that does the job right 9 times out of 10, maybe 99 out of 100, right the first time. And if they don't, they'll be back there and make it right. And the best part of this whole deal is they do it for a fair price. A lot of times, you look at your house and you just kind of want to hope and keep your fingers crossed that nothing's going to go wrong. Well, that doesn't really work out too well as a rule because I've already had it happen to me. You end up with a flood in your house, and who wants to go through that? It's no fun. Take it from me. So have O'Connor Plumbing come out and check out your stuff. Go to o'connorplumbing.net. That's online, or call them at 833-RIGGO44 and ask them to come out and give you a 44-point checkout. They'll do it, and you'll be very pleased that they did. I think that if they find something, they're not going to be looking for things, but if they find something that's wrong, they'll tell you, and if you want to replace it, you can replace it. They're the way to go. And if you're worried about the price, O'Connor Plumbing will work with you. They have financing options. So give O'Connor Plumbing a call once again at 833-RIGGO44.
Got a laugh when I look over there at TC. I see those party hats from the 44th anniversary show. It just it warms me. And, whether you're on the field or in the classroom, the Redskins believe learning should be fun. That's why partner up with youth entrepreneurs to bring their engaging hands-on style of learning to classrooms in the D.C. metro area. Youth Entrepreneurs curriculum was created by educators for educators. That means it's flexible, fun, and absolutely free. To learn more about Youth Entrepreneurs and how to experience it for yourself, visit getye.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, stand back and watch the Phoenix rise from the ashes.
Stand back. It's Riggo the Diesel.
The Phoenix is not going to rise.
John, you still have that fantasy about riding in the sidecar of a motorcycle?
So I still have that fantasy? No, I got rid of it.
Okay, you fulfilled that one?
It's funny you should bring that up. I'm taking Coco home, my youngest daughter, the other day, and I'm driving down MacArthur Boulevard. I live over in Maryland. And what do I see coming at me? Is some dude with a sidecar on his motorcycle. Yeah, I was impressed. I went, well, I almost turned around and followed him. Anyway, where are we going with this? Where do you want to go with this?
Cowboys, man. Cowboy week.
Okay.
It's Cowboy week. And
it is.
I do think, since Bruce Allen is here and some of the coaches, Greg Minuski is here, they really let these players know what this rivalry is all about. You got a lot of young players. You got a couple. We got 22 second year or less players on this team.
Yeah.
And so they got to learn early. And we had Cole Holcomb up here at a restaurant for a digital TV taping last night, and I asked him that question. He had a great game. Cole Holcomb did.
Yeah, he did. I agree with
And he
you.
goes, we hate them. I said, well, you're from Florida. You went to North Carolina. Well, Minuski. Minuski told me we hate them. And so I said, well,
brainwashing.
Hey, that's good advice.
You know what? I hate to say this, but when I grew up, I grew up in Northeast Kansas, and we only got CBS, right? We didn't get the other two. We didn't get ABC. We didn't get NBC. Had we got NBC, I'd have been able to watch the Kansas City Chiefs. Oh. So more often than not, actually, we would see a lot. Well, it wasn't a lot, but because they were in the same division, occasionally we'd see the Cowboys playing the St. Louis Cardinals. Well, I wasn't a big Cardinal fan, but all of a sudden I was a big Bob Hayes fan.
Oh.
And Bob Hayes kind of put me into where I'm going. I was a Cowboy fan. I like the Cowboys, but it didn't take me long to figure out they're not your friends. And there's something about the Cowboys. There's nothing better, actually. Of course, the game's here on Sunday. But there's nothing better, I think. The most satisfying wins that there are is to beat the Cowboys in their own stadium because their fans are the greatest because they're so arrogant and they just assume they're going to win because they show up. And when you hear, at least back then, it's still called Texas Stadium. I guess it is down there, right?
No, it's AT&T Stadium.
That's right. But anyway,
affectionately known as Jerry World.
Yeah, exactly. But back in the old days, Texas Stadium, but you could hear a pin drop once got up on the Cowboys and things weren't going the way.
Front runners.
Yeah, oh boy, some of the best.
Still, it's good versus evil. That's the way I look at it.
That ain't a bad way to look at it, actually. It's kind of like the Soviet Union, right?
Kind of, the evil empire.
And actually, Tom Landry, though, he was a God-fearing man. But I was going to say, hey, he kind of looked like Vladimir Putin. But that, just to me, not really. Anyway,
I kind of see
back
that.
to what's that?
I do see that a little bit. And I'm going to think about it. If you took the fedora off and got a comb over working,
Yeah,
than maybe he would have looked like him.
It's in the ballpark, that's for sure. You look forward to this game, and Washington's got some things they're going to have to deal with. They don't know whether they're going to have the running back they started against Philadelphia. I happened to watch a little bit of that game against the Giants that the Cowboys played on Sunday. I just happened to be on, right after the Washington game. And the Cowboys look pretty good. They did. But they don't look infallible. They don't look unbeatable. They beat a Giant team that comes out and scores the first touchdown. But after that, the Giants had nothing. The Cowboys just pretty much strangled their thing. The Cowboys, and I can't think of his name, they kind of featured a new receiver that
Cobb.
Yeah. Is he new to the team this year?
Yeah. And, they also have Cooper.
And they got Cooper, yeah. And then Witten's back.
Witten's back. Elliott's back, too. But Elliott is going to be in better – again, for me and you, if me and you got a little out of shape – and, of course, we're in tip-top shape right now.
Absolutely.
I can see it.
Actually, I am.
If we were to I'm in pretty good shape. I do my treadmill. I do all my stuff.
Yeah,
I do my working and everything, workout, lifting and all that. If I really let myself go, it'd probably take me, 2-3 months to lose 10 pounds. Mm-hmm. But when you're 25 years old, man, you can get in shape in a hurry, man. You can get in shape in 2 weeks. And that's Elliott. He'll be a week better in shape. He looked like he might have been not working out as much as he would if he was in camp. So I think you're going to see a better Ezekiel Elliott. But last year at FedEx Field, the Redskins stopped Ezekiel Elliott. They did have a plan to stop him. So my opinion, as good as Prescott looked in that game, I think Elliott is the player you have to stop and then put pressure on Prescott like they did last year. They got pressure on him. He coughed it up once. A big turnover turned into a touchdown. It's kind of what you're looking for.
Well, and I think I've heard somebody else say this, so it's nothing original, but I will repeat it because I think it bears repeating, and that is that Prescott he's a good quarterback. There's no question about it. And who knows? He may be growing this year. But I think you have to say, and I think he'd be the first to admit it, that Elliott is his safety blanket. That when he's not in the game, that it's a different game for him because the fact that you have to respect the running game slows down the pass rush a little bit and makes Prescott a little bit better than maybe he is. So, But he may be growing past that. You don't know. But clearly, what you're saying is true, Elliott. And I don't know. I thought he looked like last year. I couldn't really tell that he was taking anything off of it. I sat out of training camp. Of course, it didn't turn out too good for me. My second year with the Jets. Actually, it was my third year with the Jets. But then again, at Cool Hand Luke, my mind wasn't right. But I'm just saying is that you play yourself into shape, really, for the most part.
Right.
And Sunday afternoons when you do it, you can say what you want about practice and all that stuff. And I'm talking about from a running back standpoint, where things happen on Sunday afternoon because that's game speed. You don't ever see it in practice. Maybe it works for receivers and quarterbacks. I never found it worked that way for me.
I used to do a lot of boxing, and I used to work with a guy named Teddy Atlas, who's a pretty well-known TV commentator now. He was one of Mike Tyson's first trainers. He currently trains, I forget the guy's name. He's one of the light heavyweight champions out of Russia. And he used to tell me that he would really try to keep his fighters calm before a game because anxiety burns energy.
I agree.
He really believed anxiety burns energy. And then if you added to that the heat, which we had not seen a team play a 60-minute game, it was hot in Philly. And so prospects are this could be the same case on Sunday here where you might be facing heat that you're not going to face in October, November. Obviously, a week later into the calendar year, it might be a little bit cooler. But I thought that the Redskins team kind of, especially on defense in the second half, and again, Philly caused this to happen, but I think they wore down. It was somewhat reminiscent of what happened last year. At the end of the year with the team really you got good talent on the defense, and if you lose Jonathan Allen, you've got 10 players that you didn't lose, and you got Tim Settle, who's a real good player, who's going to step in there. You shouldn't see that much of a dramatic drop-off in the production of the defense. So I'm really interested to see what they do in this ball game, especially in the second half, where they're going to want to pound Elliott in the second half because they saw what the Redskins gave up to Philadelphia in that second half. Both with Howard and Sanders, the rookie out of Penn State. So, to me, that's going to be a very interesting thing to see what the second half looks like. Of course, you better have a good first half, too, or the second half might not turn out too good. I think the Redskins can be very competitive in this game.
I would be surprised if they're not. I think Las Vegas has a game at 4.5 points, so that tells you a little something that they're thinking that Washington is going to be somewhat.
Yeah, it's interesting.
They're going to show up. At least that's what it was this morning.
This age where everybody's gambling, and you saw a double-digit spread last week in Philadelphia, and you're home. You're a home dog, but Dallas rolled up on the Giants last week. So, and the Redskins did not have a good second half to that game. So, we'll see. Should I sneak this in here, Stevie? Helping people improve their lives is what should drive business. That's the belief at Koch Industries, which employs more than 65,000 people across America. The team at Koch works together to meet the world's changing needs in transportation, medical care, water filtration, household goods, energy-efficient building products, and everyday technologies, all while consuming fewer resources. See the innovations firsthand at kochindustries.com.
Hey, I'm bored, I'm broke, and I'm back.
Who's bored? Who's broke? And who's back?
I wanted to always see the redwoods. I wanted to see the Rocky Mountains. I wanted to see the Painted Desert, the Petrified Forest, the Grand Canyon. That was like the land that I always wanted to go to.
John Riggins.
All right, Larry, we're in our third segment. Where do you want to take it today?
Actually, I'm going to take it up to American Prime, which is up in Tyson's Corner, where one of your former teammates and a guy who hands down belongs to the Pro Football Hall of Fame is going to be making an appearance on Wednesday from 6 until 8. American Prime, Tyson's Corner, and that is Joe Jacoby.
That's the man.
And I know what Joe's going to ask me. He's going to ask me about that Hall of Fame vote of those seniors that's coming up, which is a 100th anniversary.
20 guys? Is that what they're putting in?
Well, some of them are contributors. Some of them are coaches. And I believe 10 are going to be
players,
seniors, and it's 15 total. 2 contributors, 3 coaches, or 3 contributors, 2 coaches, and 10 seniors. And you got guys like Larry Brown and Pat Fisher who are also worthy. And, there's
a lot of guys are. That's what I feel. I've always felt a little bit like, why me, Lord? Because there's so many other people out there that are, more than.
John,
and it turns into a little bit of a, what do you call it? A little bit of a popularity contest.
You are just so humble. You're humble.
That's not true. But I played in New York. That helped.
That is not to the detriment of anybody else that is worthy. You are extremely worthy of that gold jacket, and that all comes with it.
It's true. It's all true.
It is. I mean,
Yeah, I was. That was a little false modesty. What was I thinking?
Greatest play in Redskins history.
It's like Dizzy Dean used to say, it ain't bragging if you can do it.
Yeah. No bragging, just fact. That was the other guy from, I might have been from a Clint Eastwood, a guy named Dub Taylor used to say that, I think.
What, in a movie?
Yeah, Dub Taylor.
Let's
no
go
brag,
back.
Just fact.
Good, bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the ugly, I think we need to bring it up, and that would be this brouhaha that somehow has been created by the media, in my opinion, and a little bit of help from their friends, which would be some of the players former players and some of the players in the locker room. At least one player I can think of. Don't need to mention any names, really. But this whole deal surrounding Adrian Peterson not getting to play on Sunday, or actually not even being in uniform, I have to. I mean, I'm on the team side here 100%. I got no wiggle room whatsoever.
Really?
I'll go back to when I played. I had a similar situation with George Rogers when he came to town. But you know what? It wasn't my business to go in and tell Joe Gibbs, "Hey, what's going on here? How's come? You start me out in the game, I play a series, and the next thing, and George Rogers plays the rest of the game. Oh, if it's 4th and 1 short yardage, you stick me in the game." I didn't do that. I got it. I said, "This is what they're doing, and this is the way it's going to work." And I was fine with it. And to bear this out, the very last game of the season that they played at home, the last home game I ever played at RFK, I remember Joe coming to me and saying, "Hey," he says, I'm gonna have, even though George Rogers was a starter, he says, "I'm gonna have them introduce you before the game." And something had happened, if you recall, years before that when Pardee was the coach, somebody was playing ahead of Kenny Houston. And Pardee was heavily criticized for not letting Kenny Houston be introduced with the team, with the defense, when they were introduced for his last home game.
Right.
So Gibbs got this. He didn't want to be criticized because the truth of the matter was Rogers was a starter. He was the guy that should have been introduced. I was fine with that. Right. I was embarrassed. And I swallowed hard and went okay because I didn't want him to. I mean, I caught the bullet. I think any player that has any self-respect, and I know that Adrian Peterson does, he was fine with what happened. Now, what happens is when you get all these guys saying slap in the face and all this, my opinion is then all of a sudden now you got to kind of live up to that, and it puts you in that that weird space. But for the most part, he got paid on Sunday. And I was getting paid when they let George Rogers go in there. I'm safe over here on the sideline. I just think that there's been way too much made out of this, because ultimately, if you're a player, you don't sit in the coaches' meetings. You're not there when they're in the draft room. So I don't really think that, your opinion on who should be playing, not playing, who should be suited up and not be suited up, that really ain't your job. And I say this in speeches. Your job is defined by the playbook. That's it. Beginning and end of story. So I really think, and to me, it's a little bit disheartening to see. It's fine for the public to go ahead and question this. When you have players in the locker room starting to question this, that's not a good sign. They got to stop this kind of stuff. You saw what they did last year to, what's his name, TJ, AJ, whatever name, Swearinger?
DJ Swearinger.
EJ?
Yeah.
TJ.
DJ.
CJ.
He's doing that on purpose.
Forget it. I can't
He's
hear.
doing that on purpose.
I'm doing Lou Abbott or Bud Abbott. Bud Abbott, Lou Costello.
Swearinger.
Swearinger, let's just call him Swearinger. Yeah, I just think that there's where the real disappointment would lie. Like I said, I just don't see any of this, because you play the game. You got to trust the coaches to put the best players out on the field on Sunday afternoon. I mean, if not, then you got to get new coaches. But as players, that's not your concern. Yeah, you may be a little bit disappointed. I've been down that road, but you got to be professional, and you don't need to be talking about it. You can talk about it amongst yourself, but go out there and play as well as you can. And so that's all I got to say on that.
Well,
that might not be all I got to say, but that's all I'm saying for now.
I will add this, and we'll see if that's all you got to say. I don't think Peterson said much of anything, which I do like the way he's handled himself. And again, not knowing what's been said behind closed doors, you have revealed here what was said behind closed doors to you when Joe Gibbs talked to you. Mm-hmm. We have no such knowledge of this situation, so we don't know. But I really, really like the way he has handled himself, because you guys got a lot of pride, and you get benched. That's not easy to take. And you're right. Your position, your job is to do what they tell you, really, and run your plays.
Yeah.
But again, I haven't heard him say much other than, he's gonna help coach the other guys. He said on Sunday after the game. That's what he said in the locker room. It was great. I mean,
yeah. And that's what I'm saying, is that I think it's almost, what it's like, Larry? It's like when they come to you at the end of the season and they vote for the Pro Bowl, and the reporters come to you and say you didn't make the Pro Bowl. Well, how do you feel? What kind of an answer do you give to that? You don't, it's like that they're, you say, hey, that's life, got to move on. It's like, what are they looking for? And I think that somehow some of the teammates saying this gets in your head, and all of a sudden you're going, well, yeah, maybe I ought to be feeling something. But I think instinctively he doesn't. He gets it. I mean, he had a good year last year, and I would say good. It was not a great year, not by his standards anyway, because you take out 3 runs that he has, and that against Philadelphia, the Giants, and I think maybe one against Green Bay. That was about 150 yards there. So all of a sudden you're looking at a season that was about 150 yards and about averaging 53 yards a game. What I'm saying there is, and against Philadelphia, that's where one of the big runs came from. He had, I think, 9 carries for 90 yards. Throw out the one run, it's 8 carries for 8 yards, and before that, the end of the season was 4 carries for 0 yards. What makes all these pundits think that Adrian Peterson was going to light it up on Sunday? I'm sorry, I just can't buy into that. I don't think people have done their homework there.
This is a take that we have not heard much of around what we've heard, any rumblings from the pundits and everybody. Everybody had an opinion, and yours is unique, as it always is. And I think
original.
100%.
Actually, my wife gave me all those.
100% original when it comes to you. And guess what? He's probably going to play on Sunday, John, against the Cowboys.
Exactly. And this is the weird. This is the weird part. Just like the same thing happened to me. We get into Cleveland that same year with George Rogers, and I guess they were throwing fastballs up in Cleveland, and George can't hit a fastball, so I got to play. And I'm scared of a fastball, but I did all right. I was the first guy to gain 100 yards up there in about 3 years in the dog pound, so I hung in there. So my point is, what goes around comes around. It's right back in his lap again, and I'm sure he's pleased that he's going to get a chance to play. Or he could have been like me, very happy to be on the sidelines. I don't know. It's like, I'm still getting paid, right? Okay, I'm good.
That'd be a great way to wrap up this edition of the podcast.
I think it's perfect.
Thank you, sir.
Riggins was the Redskins' leader on the field. He was also their leader off the field and after hours.
The 5 o'clock club basically was the Hogs getting together after practice for a beer or two in a little shack that was out there where they kept the equipment. And it was just offensive linemen. But, as it would be, John Riggins was in the club.
Locally owned Novak has the most reliable power in the region. And we all know how important being reliable is.
Especially with my electricity.
Novec provides electricity from multiple renewable sources.
Yeah!
And will soon include even more solar.
That's great!
And Novec offers convenient 24/7 online services.
I can pay my bill anytime, anywhere.
Novec.
Power you can trust.
Well, the new football season is almost here, and this team is not going to settle this year.
No way. They're focused on being the best. That's why they all went and got Hondas on clearance at the Honda Summer Spectacular event.
Because as we all know, if you want to be the best,
you have to drive the best.
Exactly.
Don't settle this football season. Get clearance pricing on a reliable award-winning Honda like the Accord, Civic, CR-V, HR-V, Pilot, and more. Don't settle. Get to the Honda Summer Spectacular event at your local Honda dealer today.